Dr. Nadia Petrov stared through the observation dome of Research Station Helios 7, her dark eyes reflecting the endless sea of stars. The isolation of deep space research suited her, away from Earth's crowded labs and political tensions. Here, among the distant stars, she could focus on her work studying extreme environmental adaptations in space-dwelling organisms. Dr. Petrov, anomalous reading detected in Sector 7, announced Winston, the station's AI, its voice carrying a hint of curiosity that sometimes made Nadia wonder about the true extent of its programming. Nadia pulled up the holographic display, fingers dancing through the data streams. "Show me the spectral analysis, Winston." The readings made no sense. The object approaching their station exhibited energy signatures unlike anything in their database. It moved against the solar wind, defying the natural drift patterns of space debris. "Magnification times 50, she commanded. The image crystallized, revealing a vessel of unmistakably artificial design. Its hull seemed to ripple like liquid metal, absorbing and reflecting light in ways that challenged physics. "Alert Protocol Omega initiated," Winston announced. "Unknown vessel entering quarantine perimeter. Estimated time to contact, 17 minutes. Nadia's heart raced. First contact protocols had been drilled into every deep space researcher, but the reality of the situation sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Open emergency channel to Earth Command." Negative. Solar interference patterns blocking long-range communications. "We are effectively isolated." Of course, Nadia thought. The universe had a peculiar sense of timing. Status of the vessel. Hull integrity compromised. Detecting rapid atmospheric loss and unusual biological signatures. "Dr. Petrov, I believe there are surviving life forms aboard." The ethical implications hit her immediately. First contact protocols strictly prohibited intervention, but basic human rights laws required assistance to vessels in distress. The fact that this vessel wasn't human only complicated matters. "Prepare docking bay 3 for emergency procedures," she decided. "Full containment protocols." "And Winston? Don't mention this in your quarterly report." Noting your willful violation of Protocol 7 Beta, Winston replied, almost smugly. Docking bay preparing for reception. The alien vessel's approach was eerily graceful despite its obvious damage. It settled into the docking clamps like it belonged there, its liquid metal hull solidifying into a more conventional form. Nadia sealed her containment suit, double-checking every connection. "Any signs of communication?" "Negative. However, biological readings are strengthening. One life form, severely weakened but stable." The airlock cycled, and Nadia stepped into the alien vessel. Its interior defied conventional architecture, with corridors that curved organically and surfaces that seemed to respond to her presence. Emergency lighting pulsed in rhythmic patterns, casting everything in a soft azure glow. She found the survivor in what appeared to be a control center. The alien lay unconscious, its form remarkably humanoid despite the obvious differences. Its skin shifted colors like an aurora, currently settling into a deep indigo. Long, elegant fingers twitched against control surfaces that seemed to grow from the floor itself. Nadia's medical scanner whirred, struggling to make sense of the alien physiology. "Winston, are you getting this? Fascinating. The subject appears to be undergoing some form of biological stasis. However, the process is failing. Without intervention, cellular breakdown will begin within hours." Nadia knelt beside the alien, her scientific curiosity warring with caution. Its face was almost human, with features that could have graced a classical sculpture. Options? Their biological systems show remarkable similarity to theoretical models of advanced genetic engineering. The subject appears to be what humans might become after several thousand years of directed evolution. The alien's eyes snapped open, revealing iris patterns that swirled like nebulae. It spoke, its voice carrying harmonics that made Nadia's bones vibrate. The translation matrix struggled for several seconds before producing, the sequence, must not complete. I'm Dr. Nadia Petrov, she replied carefully. You're aboard Research Station Helios 7. Your vessel was damaged. The alien attempted to rise, its color shifting to a warning crimson. You don't understand. My people, they'll track the genetic signature. It collapsed again, its skin taking on a dangerous gray pallor. Winston, prepare the medical bay. Full containment. Nadia began the careful process of moving the alien. And start analyzing those genetic readings. Something tells me we're about to rewrite everything we know about human evolution. As she worked, a small device fell from the alien's clothing. It projected a hologram showing strands of DNA, but unlike anything Nadia had ever seen. Except, there was something familiar in the patterns, something that resonated with research she'd done years ago on human genetic outliers. The alien's eyes flickered open once more. I am Zarin, it managed. And you carry the sequence we've searched millennia for. Nadia felt a strange tingling sensation in her hands where they contacted Zarin's skin. In that moment, she realized that her life's work studying evolutionary adaptation had been preparing her for this exact moment, though whether for salvation or catastrophe remained to be seen. Winston, she called out, trying to keep her voice steady, begin recording. First contact protocol, emergency addendum. And maybe, prepare some coffee. I have a feeling we're going to need it. The stars continued their eternal dance outside the station's windows, indifferent to the fact that the course of human evolution was about to take an unexpected turn. The medical bay's containment field hummed with an intensity that matched Nadia's racing thoughts. Zarin lay on the examination table, skin shifting through shades of blue and violet as the station's scanners mapped every aspect of their unique physiology. Genetic analysis complete, Winston announced. Dr. Petrov, you may want to sit down for this. Nadia remained standing, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. Show me. The DNA models materialized in the air between her and Zarin, two distinct helices rotating in perfect synchronization. One was clearly human, her own. The other, Zarin's, seemed to dance and shift like quicksilver. But there, in specific sequences, they aligned perfectly. Impossible, Nadia whispered, but the evidence hung before her in glowing strands of light. Not impossible, Zarin spoke, their voice stronger now. Inevitable. My people, the Lysarians, we were once like you. Then we began engineering ourselves, pushing the boundaries of evolution. But we went too far. Nadia approached the examination table, fascinated by the way Zarin's skin rippled in response to her proximity. The genetic markers in my DNA are what we lost. Zarin sat up, their movement liquid grace despite their weakness. In our quest for perfection, we engineered away crucial aspects of our genetic diversity. We thought we were advancing, but we were dying. A slow, beautiful death of our own making. Winston interrupted, Dr. Petrov, I'm detecting unusual activity in your peripheral nervous system. Your own genetic structure appears to be responding to Zarin's presence. The tingling sensation Nadia had felt earlier intensified. She watched, transfixed, as faint patterns of light began to dance beneath her skin, echoing Zarin's bioluminescence. What's happening to me? The resonance, Zarin explained, reaching out to touch her hand. Where their skin met, the patterns synchronized. Your bloodline carries what we call the primordial sequence, genetic code from before our species diverged. My people have searched for it for generations. Why me? Nadia pulled her hand back, trying to ignore how the loss of contact left her feeling strangely empty. Random chance. Or perhaps something more. Zarin's eyes swirled with colors that shouldn't exist. There are those among my people who believe the sequence survived in certain human bloodlines for a reason. That someday, our species would need to remember what we once were. Alarms suddenly blared through the station. Winston's voice carried an unusual note of concern. Multiple vessels detected entering the system. Design matches Zaren's ship but significantly larger. They appear to be running active biological scans. The genetic purity force, Zaren's skin paled to an almost translucent white. They've tracked the resonance. Dr. Petrov, Nadia, you don't understand. To them, you represent everything they've tried to eliminate from our species. Natural evolution. Unpredictability. Freedom. Nadia moved to the station's controls, her fingers flying over the interfaces. Winston, initiate emergency protocols. Prepare for immediate evacuation. The station's research must be preserved, Winston noted. And may I point out that harboring an alien fugitive violates at least 7 international space laws. Note the violations, Nadia replied, already downloading crucial data to portable drives. Then help me save our lives. Zaren stood, their movement more confident now. There's something else you need to know. The resonance between us, it's more than just genetic compatibility. Among my people, it's the foundation of our most sacred bond. What you might call a mating call, Nadia finished, understanding dawning. The patterns under her skin pulsed in response to the thought. That's why they're so determined to find us. This isn't just about genetics anymore. No, Zaren moved closer, their presence sending cascades of sensation through Nadia's increasingly sensitive nervous system. This is about the future of both our species. The Purity Force believes in controlled evolution, carefully planned and regulated. But life, true life, requires chaos, chance, choice. The station shuddered as the first scanning beams hit its shields. Winston's voice took on an urgent tone. Incoming transmission. They're demanding we surrender that genetic anomaly immediately. Nadia looked at Zaren, seeing in their swirling eyes a reflection of possibilities she'd never imagined. Her entire life had been devoted to understanding evolution, adaptation, the endless dance of life finding new forms. Now she was becoming part of that dance. Winston, she commanded, her decision made, plot a course through the asteroid field. And prepare my research vessel for immediate launch. That course has a survival probability of less than 30%, Winston calculated. Then we better hope evolution has given us good reflexes. Nadia began gathering emergency supplies, her skin now definitely glowing with patterns that mirrored Zaren's. Sometimes survival means breaking all the rules. Zaren watched her with an expression that might have been wonder. You understand that if you leave with me, you can never return to your old life. The resonance between us, it's already changing you at a cellular level. I'm a scientist, Nadia replied, securing the last of her supplies. Everything I've ever done has been in pursuit of understanding life's greatest mysteries. I'm not about to stop now. As if in response to her words, the patterns beneath their skin synchronized perfectly, turning them both into living constellations of light and possibility. Outside, the Purity Force vessels moved to surround the station, their weapons charging. The chase was about to begin, and with it, perhaps the next chapter in human evolution. Proximity alert. Winston's warning barely preceded the impact that rocked their small research vessel. Nadia's hands flew across the controls, compensating for the blast that had grazed their port shield. Status of the pursuing vessels, she called out, guiding their ship deeper into the asteroid field. The massive rocks provided cover, but also threatened to end their escape with a single miscalculation. 5 Lassarian cruisers maintaining pursuit. Their weapons are calibrated to disable rather than destroy. They appear particularly interested in preserving your genetic material intact. Zaren worked at the secondary console, their skin pulsing with patterns that matched the ship's energy readings. They're using quantum resonance tracking. They can follow the genetic signature of our bond across light years. The implications made Nadia's modified DNA tingle. The changes in her body had accelerated over the past hours, enhanced reflexes, heightened sensory awareness, and an almost prescient connection to Zaren's emotional state. Can we mask it? Not mask, Zaren's eyes lit up with sudden inspiration. But perhaps we can use it against them. The resonance creates quantum entanglement between compatible genetic patterns. If we could amplify it. Another blast rocked the ship. Winston's voice carried an edge of artificial concern. Shield integrity at 62%. Also, Dr. Petrov, I feel compelled to point out that your current biological changes violate several international protocols regarding human genetic modification. Note the violations, Nadia replied automatically, her attention focused on a massive asteroid tumbling ahead of them. Zaren, whatever you're planning, do it fast. Zaren moved behind her pilot's chair, placing their hands on her shoulders. The contact sent waves of bioluminescence cascading through both their bodies. The resonance is strongest when we're in proximity. If we channel it through the ship's quantum core. Understanding dawned. We could create a false echo. Winston, reconfigure the quantum core to match the frequency of our genetic resonance. I must point out this has never been attempted with human DNA, Winston noted, even as it began the reconfiguration. The potential for catastrophic molecular destabilization is. Just do it, Nadia and Zaren spoke in unison, their synchronized response making the ship's instruments flicker. Nadia guided their vessel into the shadow of the massive asteroid, using its rotation to mask their position. Behind them, the Lasarian cruisers spread out in a search pattern, their quantum scanners probing the void. Core reconfigured, Winston announced. Awaiting activation. Though I feel compelled to add that my ethical subroutines are having a particularly stressful day. Zaren's grip on Nadia's shoulders tightened. The process will be intense. Our genetic resonance wasn't meant to interface with technology this way. Story of my life, Nadia managed a tight smile. Ready when you are. The activation felt like lightning through her veins. Every cell in her body sang with energy as the quantum core amplified their genetic bond. Through their connection, she felt Zaren's amazement. No Lasarian had ever achieved this level of resonance with an unmodified being. On their screens, they watched as hundreds of false genetic signatures bloomed across the asteroid field. The pursuing ships immediately split up, each chasing a different echo. It worked, Nadia breathed, fighting through the dizziness that accompanied their genetic broadcast. Winston, plot a course to. Extraordinary, Zaren interrupted, their voice filled with wonder. Look at the pattern. The holographic display showed the spread of their amplified resonance. But instead of chaotic dispersion, it formed a distinct geometric pattern, one that matched ancient Lasarian symbols. That's impossible, Zaren whispered. Those patterns, they're from our oldest records. From before we began our genetic engineering. They tell of a time when our people had a natural ability to form quantum bonds. We thought it was just legend, but. Your people didn't engineer the resonance ability, Nadia realized, the implications staggering. You rediscovered it. And somehow, it survived in certain human bloodlines. Which means the separation of our species. Zaren's skin rippled with colors of revelation. Was intentional, Nadia finished. Someone wanted to preserve the original genetic pattern. To keep it safe until it was needed again. Warning alerts interrupted their moment of discovery. 2 Lasarian vessels have detected our true signature, Winston reported. They're on an intercept course. Also, power to the quantum core is destabilizing. We cannot maintain the resonance broadcast. Nadia felt the energy drain from her body as the broadcast ended, leaving her exhausted but oddly exhilarated. Options. Zaren moved to the navigation console, their movements urgent. There's a place, a hidden research facility where others like me work to preserve our original genetic heritage. If we can reach it. More ships entering the system, Winston interrupted. Design unknown. Energy signatures suggest. Dr. Petrov, they appear to be human vessels. But their configuration doesn't match any known registry. The new ships moved with impossible speed, taking up defensive positions around their small vessel. A transmission cut through their comm system, the voice speaking in an ancient Lysarian dialect that Nadia somehow understood perfectly. "Children of the first resonance," the voice said, "you have awakened the old patterns. The time of reunion approaches." Nadia and Zarin exchanged looks, their skin patterns synchronizing unconsciously. The chase had led them not just to survival, but to the threshold of a mystery spanning millennia. And somewhere ahead lay answers about the true history of both their species. "Winston," Nadia commanded, her voice steady despite her exhaustion, "log everything. It seems we're about to rewrite more than just evolutionary theory." The stars stretched before them, holding secrets older than either of their civilizations had imagined. And in the quantum dance of their combined DNA, ancient patterns awakened, preparing for what was to come. The hidden facility carved into the dark side of a rogue planetoid wasn't what Nadia had expected. Instead of sterile laboratories, she found herself in what appeared to be a living structure. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, responding to the presence of its inhabitants. "Welcome to Haven," announced their rescuer, introducing herself as Commander Reiko Tanaka. Her features were mostly human, but her skin rippled with familiar iridescent patterns. "We've been watching your progress since the resonance broadcast." Nadia struggled to focus, the changes in her body accelerating. Her vision now perceived spectrums beyond normal human range, and her skin had developed intricate patterns that shifted with her emotions. "You're human, but you've undergone the same changes." "I am what you're becoming," Reiko confirmed. "What both our species were always meant to be. We call ourselves the Convergence." The facility hummed with activity. Humans and Lysarians worked side by side, their genetic resonance creating harmonious patterns that danced across the facility's living walls. Scientists of both species monitored banks of bioorganic computers, studying data streams that flowed like liquid light. "How long has this been happening?" Nadia asked, feeling Zarin's presence behind her like a physical force. Their genetic bond had grown stronger during their flight, making it increasingly difficult to distinguish where her consciousness ended and theirs began. "The convergence has existed in secret for centuries," Reiko explained, leading them through corridors that seemed to grow and reshape themselves. "We are the guardians of the original genetic pattern, what the Lysarians call the first resonance. But we've never seen a natural bonding as powerful as yours." Zarin moved closer to Nadia, their proximity sending cascades of sensation through both their nervous systems. "The Purity Force believes they're preserving our species by controlling evolution. But they've forgotten that true evolution requires freedom to change, to adapt, to bond." Speaking of change, Winston's voice emerged from a communication node in the wall, the AI having integrated seamlessly with the facility's systems. "Dr. Petrov's cellular structure is undergoing unprecedented transformation. The rate of genetic reorganization suggests complete metamorphosis within 24 hours. Nadia examined her reflection in a nearby crystal formation. Her eyes now swirled with colors like Zarin's, and her skin had taken on a subtle translucence that revealed the flow of energy beneath. "I should be terrified," she mused. "Instead, I feel complete," Zarin finished. "The resonance isn't changing you, it's awakening what was always there." "Which is exactly what the Purity Force fears," Reiko interjected. "They're gathering a fleet. Our sensors detect them preparing for a full assault on Haven. They'll try to sterilize the facility rather than allow the natural evolution to continue." The facility's walls pulsed with warning patterns. Throughout the complex, other bonded pairs moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for battle. Their synchronized movements created waves of bioluminescence that rippled through the living structure. "We've developed defenses," Reiko continued, leading them to a central chamber. "But this time is different. Your resonance broadcast didn't just reveal our location, it awakened something in the genetic memory of every human and Lysarian who carries traces of the original pattern. Holographic displays showed data from across the galaxy. Thousands of points of light represented individuals whose dormant genes had begun to activate. The pattern they formed was unmistakable, the same ancient symbol that had appeared during their quantum broadcast. "It's beautiful," Nadia breathed, watching the light spread like stars being born. Then pain shot through her body, bringing her to her knees. Zarin caught her, their touch sending waves of supporting energy through their bond. "The final phase of transformation," Reiko explained, her expression sympathetic. "Your consciousness will expand beyond physical limitations. The first time is intense." Nadia felt her awareness extending, connecting with the facility's living systems, with Zarin's thoughts, with the vast network of awakening minds across space. Through their shared genetic memory, she saw the truth, how their ancestors had created the separation between humans and Lysarians to preserve their genetic heritage, knowing it would be needed when both species had reached the limits of their isolated evolution. "They're here," Winston announced, his artificial consciousness now threaded through Haven's defense systems. Purity Force fleet dropping out of quantum space. "Their numbers are substantial." Reiko's skin flickered with tactical patterns. "We've trained for this. Every bonded pair, take your positions. Today we fight not just for our survival, but for the freedom to become what we were always meant to be." Nadia stood, her pain transforming into power as the metamorphosis neared completion. Through her expanded awareness, she felt the approaching fleet, and something else. Something vast stirring in the space between stars, responding to the awakening of ancient genes. "They thought they could control evolution," she said, her voice harmonizing with Zarin's. "But true evolution isn't about control. It's about adaptation, connection, love." The facility's walls blazed with light as the bonded pairs took their positions. In orbit above them, the Purity Force fleet prepared their assault, unaware that they were about to witness not just a battle, but the next step in the evolution of both their species. Nadia and Zarin moved as one toward their assigned station, their combined consciousness reaching out to join the facility's defense network. The time for hiding was over. The next chapter in human and Lysarian history was about to be written, and they would help write it together.